Welcome to TinFest. This is a big stage builder community event where you split up into 3 different teams and compete with those themes as their teams.
So cool!
We ripped off Splatoon Splatfest. Wahoo! This time builders had an option of 3 teams. They could go on Team Metroid, Team F-Zero, or Team Pikmin.
That's awesome!
They build the stage based on their team, and then everybody votes for the top 9 best, and then that moves on to me, the sole judge. They'll be reviewed on 4 different categories, and I will be deciding the winner today. Guys, listen, it's been a while since I got into the real nitty-gritty of these stages, but it's TinFest, and it's also the 4th year anniversary of Stage Builder. Can you believe that? Let's begin! Sector Alpha by Rainlust. The layout is interesting. You have these far platforms off to the side, and I know what you're thinking. Hey, somebody can just stand over there and spam and camp. But check out these platforms on the top. These will let players get to that side and have a safer approach. Sure, its main intention is just to be wacky and fun, but it's good at that too. This is based on F-Zero X, and when it comes to visuals, it's not just about how it compares to the source material, but how does it look on its own? Is it pleasing to the eyes? I think so, don't you? Even with the limited colors of Stage Builder, look how vibrant they made this. And check out the background shading. It's like so solid and bold. Looks great. They had to get creative in what they took from F-Zero to make this stage, since there's not a lot to pull from. And it seems to have like a lot of chaotic stuff going on, but it's never too much. Getting that balance isn't so easy, Compatibility basically judges how glitchy a stage is, if there's a lot of broken parts and all that. This stage doesn't have any issues at all. Jumping over to Super Zebus, this is by Golden Boy. And the layout might make you think of Hyrule Temple a little bit, except it's even more compact, it's more maze-like. Which means it kind of takes a while to get killed on this. You can just run away and circle camp the whole time, and hey, don't act like you've never done it. If you're on the last stock and you're afraid you're going to lose, you might try to run away for just until sudden death, but that's just the nature of these big stages, There's something I really like about this one, and I might as well talk about the creativity at this part as well. As you can see, there's a lot of different areas, and each one kind of looks and feels like its own region. The cave, they have these bottomless pits, the lava caverns, which are the most dangerous. You have this tunnel, which is supposed to be like underwater because it has this wind effect. The rough terrain of the ruins. Of course, you got the flat, simple starting area. Oh, it's just like Metroid. I have a lot of appreciation for this because this is really well done. I really like this. Even if this layout isn't your cup of tea, you have to admit that that's pretty smart. For this stage's size and complexity, it's surprisingly good looking, and it's amazing that there's this much detail that can be added in. Since, of course, as you probably know, much of the stage weight needs to be into making the layout itself. Like, you can only have so much stage weight, and a lot of that needs to go into making the layout itself. Like, it's colorful, and it's varied, and the clouds are a nice touch too. I do have 2 issues. The big thing is there's a spot on the left you can actually get inside the wall. You don't really get like completely stuck, but I definitely slipped in there. In the top right, the wrecked ship area, there's a lot of these little edges you can grab onto and just kind of get stuck in there. It's just not ideal to try to walk over this terrain. But despite this, I still think it's a good stage. Now over to Team Pikmin. Forest of Hope by Jigsmane. It's pretty basic. What you see is about what you get, except there's an onion that you can stand on and that flies in and out of the blast zone. The funny thing about critiquing Smash Bros. Stage layouts, like there was so much to talk about with the last stage, like that was far from simple. With this, the layout is pretty simple, but it's still good. Some people prefer just a simple layout like this. People enjoy all different kinds of Smash stages, so just because there's not much to say about this one, it's not subpar by any means. It looks nice. You got the water coming out of the stump and the light rays. This stage could look a little bit more 3-dimensional if the leaves came out closer a little bit. That would look nice. And a bit of a side note, it definitely looks like a forest, but doesn't stand out much as Pikmin, besides the onion and the burrowing snagret on the side, which is missing its features. I think if that just had a face and there was one more Pikmin-themed object, that would go a super long way. I call this a side note because representing the source material better wouldn't technically make it look more visually appealing, but I wanted to mention it. Looking at it on its own, I like how every part of the stage that you interact with has continuity within the background. Like the platforms are actually leaves and the main ground is a stump, and of course you have the onion. That just always gives a good feeling of cohesiveness, which is fun, you know? Wahoo! In compatibility, I found no mistakes. Sand Ocean by 13. It's a fun asymmetric layout. You know, you got a slope, you have a platform, and a moving platform. There's not a whole lot to say, but it is a good layout. Like I mentioned about Forest of Hope, the background does look a little flat. I think a way to remedy this is to bring the layer with the hoodoos closer a little bit. But problem is, there's a little wing here in the Falcon Flyer. But in my opinion, I think you can just remove it and make room for that extra background layer. Speaking of the Falcon Flyer, it does look a little undetailed. I can't say it's too creative since it's technically a recreation of a Super Smash Flash 2 stage. It still takes creative energy to remake a stage like this. You know, it's not just monkey see, monkey do. But you gotta keep this in mind when judging its creativity. And for compatibility, I do want to mention that it looks like you're gonna bonk your head when you recover, but there is an invisible triangle to prevent that. So all good, no problems. SR388 by Scrim. I've talked about this stage in a previous video, so forgive me if you catch me repeating myself. This layout is definitely inspired by Temple, and it has a little bit more room to breathe compared to Super Zebus, but let's not compare too much. I also like how there's like a large pit here. It's definitely going to prevent the match from going on too long and people surviving much longer than they should. Just a side note, it's a complete mystery why Metroid hasn't gotten an official stage like this, but Zelda and Mother 3 did. And the reason I say this is because a layout like this is perfect for Metroid. Well, it's very gray, but everybody knows it's based on a gray game, so it's okay. Also, on a big stage like this, normally the stage weight is spread pretty thin, but it still has these detailed visuals where it needs it. Basing it on an old black and white Game Boy game is very smart because you can rely on this blank background so you can have more of the stage weight to put in these details, and it looks like a Game Boy game, and that's very creative. And of course, each area of the stage represents a different region from Metroid 2. No compatibility problems, all good. Kraid by Beige Stilder. That's a great name. It's a pretty basic layout, except there's a twist. Oh, it's a platform. And it's his little belly button needle. That's a good touch. Just like the game. There's also this little tiny wacky slope here. It can lead to some weird interactions, but for the most part it doesn't bother too much. And in case you didn't notice, the lava is just for decoration. I think it'd be better if the backdrop was covered up, maybe like even just black or something. I feel like the Find Me background with the mountain and the clouds, I feel like that's a bit of a mismatch of aesthetics, you know what I mean? The lava effect is cool, but it looks kind of hollow. Just generally, I would say this stage looks a little empty. Just generally speaking, to be a great stage, there needs to be some kind of wow factor, or just like, not even necessarily wow, just like a, oh, that's neat factor, you know what I mean? At some point, Kraid rises up out of the lava, just like the game, and then the spike platform comes in, and hey, that's kind of neat. Other than that, it's pretty simple. It's still good. No issues here, and again, you have that invisible triangle to help you get back to the stage. Treasure in a Bottle by Borb, and this is the only stage here today that isn't based on a game. It's based on the Pikmin shorts. You have a wall here and an overhanging platform here, and it's kind of symmetrical, but it's kind of not. It's fun. It also looks nice. At first, I looked over the grass and I kind of thought, that could be a little bit more detailed. But as I keep reminding you, there's only so much stage weight you can put in. And where did it all go? This beautiful lettering. And these Pikmin too. Isn't that romantic? I do kind of wish that the bottle in the back was kind of a hazard, like you could get stuck inside or fall inside somehow. But I can't really say that not having that is a bad option. because if it was a hazard, it would probably dominate the entire match and may not be that fun. Generally though, it's a good stage, and I like how it makes you feel small because there's giant bottles and everything. Like the other Pikmin stages don't quite capture that. And there's no compatibility issues too. Wahoo! Silence by Samaro. You may have seen this stage in the Tin Fest crew battle that we did, and we have a brand new Custom Clash YouTube channel that you can check out too, so you can watch that in action in the top right iCard right now. The commentators had nothing but praise to give.
I was in the middle of my match. I was just like, damn, those are some nice clouds, man.
These platforms, honestly, it's a technological achievement. The platform arrangement changes several times throughout the match, and this is a gimmick that definitely affects the match, but it keeps the fight about the fight. Just the fact that it changes so much gives this stage so much replayability. Like, it really feels fresh every time you play it. It looks great too. It's like if Bob Ross made a F-Zero painting, but for some reason he only used sponge denim and metal. The energy put into this is insane. It's a perfect mix of stage science and stage art. It's got no issues, and it has that invisible triangle that we love so much. Submerged Castle by Carson, based on my childhood nightmares from Pikmin 2. The stage was clearly intended to be simple, basic, and like a legal stage, and it succeeded at that because we used it in our crew battle. Again, check out that whole stream. It definitely looks like the inside of a cave, you know, because you have the stalactites and the broken pipe, the rust over everything, and that little light coming through the ceiling. It's always interesting when a stage is based on something that doesn't really have like a lot of the background elements, like in Pikmin 2. Actually, a lot of the stages today are like this, where they kind of have to make up a lot of the visual elements and try to make it work into a stage and making it feel like a place. That's always a good way to get creativity points in my book. No issues here. Wahoo! If you've been keeping up with the scores, you know that Silence by Samaro has won with a score of 9.6. It's just so solid and has such a high level of replayability. I can't complain about a single thing. In case you're wondering why it's not a 10, I don't really like to give out 10s. I'm not even sure I know what a 10 looks like. I think this stage appeals to both people who are really into stage builders and they know all the tricks and they know how complex it is, but even someone who they might not know anything about stage builder and they're just playing normally. I feel like they will like it a lot because it really just feels like an official stage and they're really just focusing on the game. Not to say I don't love stages that give you a unique experience just for that stage. For example, Super Zebus. I liked it a lot, but I wish I could have liked it more, but it did have a couple issues. I hope all my reviews had some useful bit of stage building knowledge. And I want to thank you for watching and thank everyone who participated. Definitely stay tuned for more events and more Tin Fests. I'll make custom stage videos till I die.